Welcome back, guys. It's been an interesting morning, to say the least. Everybody in the office has been yelled at. One of my transporters has been yelled at. One of my good contacts in the tow truck world called with an issue that brought up a very frustrating point that I remember very well, which I'll touch upon. But in the light of good things happening, we have a beautiful Silverado K-20, the experiment, getting ready to go to its new home. Everybody here has driven this truck, including myself now, several times. Just because we had to go get gas, we had to run an errand, we had to take it to the bedliner shop, we had to take it to the stereo shop. And this is one of the least expensive square bodies we have sold in a long time. It's a K-20. It's very solid, like super duper solid, with a lot of original paint, with reasonably low miles, 80-some thousand documented miles, and a weirdest of weird color combination. Feast your eyes on that, guys. Blue with tan, but super cool. Like, I thought it grew on me quick because I like things that are different. I've never had that color combination. We did have a red with blue interior, and we've had a red with a blue interior. Blue with a red, yes, that's the combination. I've had both of those combinations, which are really just actually ugly. That's not bad. And we were able to touch up a few of the spots that need to be touched up to match, and it turned out cool. But the truck runs, it's bone stock, you know, it has its whatever, 200 horsepower. It runs great. The AC will run you out. The heat also works. Usually it's one or the other. They both work. It's got some what look like weld wheels, but they're center lines with proper sized tires, and they're in good shape. And we call this truck the experiment because the customer that purchased it really was experimenting with what he wanted to do. He looked at several that have come and gone. He looked at a few, like the Suburban behind us, that are still here. He was up against, what do I do? Do I lift something? Do I lower something? Do I four-wheel drive swap something? Or do I just buy something that I can be happy with because he's going to use it? Now, we have guys that buy these $70, $80, $90, $100, $115,000 ones, and they use them too. You go buy a King Ranch. I got construction guys buy a brand new King Ranch every year, work the piss out of it. Like, you could grow grass in the floor. There's so much dirt in there. So spending crazy money on a classic truck that makes you happy doesn't really matter. But along the way, we did the service, we did the inspection, just to give you guys kind of a rundown on this truck. It had all the trim, but it needed some help on the trim. On the other side, it does have a little whiskey dent, a little character mark, a little birthmark. But also, the cab didn't line up right. These trucks are weird about the cabs lining up. Sometimes it's cab mounts. Most of the time, it's just the cab and the bed did not line up from the factory. He never even mentioned it, but we did adjust this, so it lined up a lot better than it used to. It was, I don't know which way, but it was off almost an inch. So Daniel and Brian have become really good at being able to adjust that from underneath. If they need a bushing, we've got them, no big deal. But this is a Camper Special 8400 GVW truck. He asked about throwing a toolbox on it. We happen to have one here that we'd taken out of something at some time. We tossed it on there. He's got some storage. It already had the caps on the bed. We did a spray and liner, and look at the freaking bed. It is incredible. Now, if you saw the previous video, or if you've been following this truck, and also this here, this piece of trim itself, you can't get unless you find something aftermarket, or if you find a new old stock. This thing's pretty minty. What usually happened to this is somebody left their hammer laying here, or they had their hitch in their ball right here, and they dropped the tailgate. Even the last super expensive crew cab we had a ding in it. I couldn't stand it, so we did replace it with an aftermarket one that Daniel located. But it had a little ding right there. And customer didn't even say anything, but the truck was big. It was up on 40-inch tires. I said, it cannot leave like that. As a matter of fact, I had to be the one to put it on there at the last minute. Pat myself on the back. I did a little something and didn't mess up. But the bed liner worked out good. If you guys saw the previous video though, this truck had barn stall matting in it, is what it turned out to be. It was thick for a barn stall in it. And then somebody put a a gooseneck ball, which we saved, on top of the matting. So if and when we took the mat out, this was up off the ground an inch, but it was threaded in. So it took my guys a few hours up at the shop to get this out with some heat and some lube and everything else, but they got it out so that we could do the bed liner and this would not be in there. Now the hole is still there. My guy put a small little cover on it so that stuff doesn't fall in the hole. And if we ever want to go back to this, we just take a little drill, pop that little plug out, he can go gooseneck. He doesn't plan on it, but that's pretty cool. Look at that. Somebody made this. Probably in the 80s. They didn't have plasma tables. So they cut this piece out, put the ball through it, welded the ball to it, put a little hook right here. And you can see it took some work. Yeah. Chisel, big pipe wrench, heat, lube, got it out. So could have just left it, sprayed around it, but it would have been a stupid trap for dirt and debris. It wasn't flush. It would have been in the way. Say you wanted to slide some 2x4s or not 2x4s, but some plywood in there. This would have been in the way. I've done that before and set it on top of it. And when I got home after bouncing, I had a nice 2 5/16 round hole through the first 4 sheets. Don't do that. Learn from my stupid lesson. It did get a retro radio with paperwork, with Bluetooth. Threw in a little cup holder. He doesn't even know about that yet, but I went this morning to put a little fuel in it and grab me a drink. And it was in my lap and I spilled it, so I looked like I peed my pants. So got him a cup holder, because you got to have a cup holder in these trucks. But what a freaking cool combination. And again, it's just so neat when it's an inexpensive one. The gas tanks both work. I put a little fuel in it again just to make sure. It had a gauge that glitched out the last minute. We were able to fix that too. And we don't normally put that kind of effort. We'll do anything a customer asks. But a few of the little after facts on this one went way past the after facts. But this man was very patient. And we cannot say enough. And when I say we, my mom, Christian, Mike, AJ, myself, when you're patient with us, you'll get everything that you ask for, you know, as far as pictures and photos and everything else. Some people are so persistent, and unfortunately, because across the street, the shop's up the road, the off-road shop's up the road. We got another service shop that's 15 minutes from here. The bedliner shop's 20 minutes from here. The tent shop is 15 minutes from here. Trucks go all over the place, and sometimes we just can't walk out and get it. There's days I don't even get across the street, and my guys call me to come over, and I'm like, FaceTime me, send me a picture, because I can't even get out here to do these videos, much less get up from my desk. It's just the way things go. I'm not going to hire a bunch of extra people, because then we got a bunch of extra problems. I got the best crew there can be, even though they got a little bit fussed at this morning. It wasn't their fault. It was just frustration of business, frustration of a bank asking for some things for a deal that we didn't have, and they are trying to fast track it, because guess what? Banks want every deal they can get, and they want them right now. And we're trying to do it. The customer wants the truck. There's some paperwork that's got to be sent. We're trying to do it all, and unfortunately there's a payoff involved on this particular truck, and we're waiting on the title, so we don't have it yet. We get our titles to everything we sell at some point, whether it be payoff or whatever the situation is. But sometimes they're not in hand, like some of the things we bought yesterday. The title shouldn't have been in hand. It was $600,000 worth of cars, only 4 cars or 5 cars, and all the titles were there. That's great, but that's not always the case. So this right here makes me happy. Crazy enough, some of the simplest things in life. It's also going to make the customer happy. I feel like he's probably going to love this truck and get another. The plan was that he may trade this for a different truck. I really think for a lot of customers, they need to have a play truck and they need to have a fancy truck. And my good friends down in Carolina that faithfully watch this, hopefully you've already talked to your wife, sir, and she knows, because y'all probably sit at dinner when you watch this tonight, made one of the funniest statements, but one of the coolest statements, and I was grinning from ear to ear when I got off the phone with him yesterday evening. He loves red. He's bought a lot of trucks. He's had us do a lot of stuff in the shop. He's got a full-blown shop at home with his son-in-law. They're amazing people. And he's got some beautiful trucks, now he wants a play truck. Matter of fact, his actual son ended up with a truck very similar to this, and if they would have seen this truck in person, I think they would have took this one home too, but it never went on the web. So I know they knew about it through videos, but they didn't see it in person. But I said, you know, he said, my barn's full. And he says barn, he's got a nice building, a heck of a building. So does his son and his son-in-law. But I said, well, I guess you got to get rid of something so we can add some more. He said, no, sir, you build another barn. That's my man right there. That is the right answer. That is the same thing I would say if somebody told me we're running out of space. As in case you didn't know, you know, if you ride up and down Jeff Davis Highway, there's buildings and buildings and buildings full of stuff. Some which we need to go exploring in because there's some cool treasures that were tucked away many years ago. And I got it honestly because back in the back, there's still storage buildings that have stuff in them from when we made our very first car lot move in the 80/90 era. We packed up and we moved about this many things, and then we packed away this many things that we still have. Some of them are new old stock, brand new stuff in packages, which I'm blessed that we saved. Some of them are old antennas that we actually used on the Fall Guy truck and another vehicle recently, and the Dukes of Hazzard car. So some of that stuff's come in handy and recycled itself. And then some of it we've been tripping over that we'll probably never, ever, ever use. But still, it's kind of cool to open it up and go back in time. And that's what happens with these trucks. One other footnote, when this guy came down to look at it, he unfortunately came on a Saturday where we were low on staff. I allowed him to go to the shop. We hid keys. We made special arrangements, which we will do in any case we can for you guys. He said when he walked up on it, the smell sold it for him. They honestly even smell old. They smell like your grandpa. They smell like your dad, depending on how old you are. That's what's so fun. And it's the same way with three-wheelers. You can take a 80s and 90s or 70s model three-wheeler, and you can put fresh gas and fresh oil. It still smells old. It just is something about it which is so eclectic to people that lived in that era, because I think we all want to go back to it. I would not have had the frustrations I had this morning with my employees and everybody else if we were still living in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. And again, it wasn't their fault. It's just the loopholes and the things that we have to do anything these days. So it's ridiculously frustrating in some ways. But I'm smiling, that man's gonna be smiling. I might take one more drive in it just so I can get my frustrated part of the day over with. We also have a bunch of stuff that Christian is bringing up on the website, and some stuff we've had sitting around, such as that van, which is not pretty, and it's got some rust, but it does its job. It was an electrical contractor's truck that I think we sold them almost new and traded back in for some newer vehicles. What is it, $5 grand? $5 grand. So if you guys need something, use that a couple times, it's paid for itself. I know most don't think of us having some cheap stuff, but I think I've got 5 or 6 of them right now that are actually dependable, actually have a proper inspection, they're actually safe to use, their cosmetics are challenged, but we do have some of those too. And me and Christian are determined, and if AJ can get back in the office, he's at a touch-a-truck right now for some kids. Took a couple vehicles over to that. Good feeling about that, because you know, kids don't get to experience that every day, and they should be excited. So I wish I could partake in that, but AJ went to do that task. We'll get across the road, we'll get some of these other square bodies, but this might be the last time you guys see the experiment. You'll understand what the experiment means. We'll correspond with this customer through time, I'm sure. He's been texting with me, conversating with me, and he's making a trip for the Memorial Day. In case I forget, happy Memorial Day, everybody. We'll have some more videos prior to then, I hope, but have a safe and happy Memorial Day. And I got a little Memorial Day story that'll be in one of the next videos about normally what my situation was for Memorial Day that isn't anymore, as I've actually had to grow up, but that's a good one. I don't know if we'll do a podcast or if we'll do a live walk, but the experiment, 1979 Silverado 20, is leaving Davis Auto, headed to its new owners.